Hey, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC St. Petersburg or UFC on ESPN plus 7. Like I say, from St. Petersburg, as Alistair Overeem faces off against Aleksi Oleynik in the main event there. We'll get into this quickly. I'm going to try and fire through this. I've got not too much time in my hands. I'm helping some friends out with some things regarding moving houses and so on. So this is going to be a quick fire one that I'm going to kind of fire out in hopefully 20 minutes or so. Coming off UFC 236, couple of epic title fights there. Did very well for the card. Both the Hawaiian fighters were the only losses I had on the night. Landed some nice underdog picks. So that gives me a bit of confidence moving on to this one here. And what I do like about this card is they're starting to cultivate that talent coming out of Russia. And they're starting to get some real legit talent into the UFC here. I think is going to be really, really good. So we're going to get into that in a second. Thank you for all the comments, the likes, the views, everything. Just the support. Keep it going. Help me hit 3,000 by the end of the year. It's been a little bit slow on YouTube this year, I must admit. I've seen it go quicker in the past, but maybe this is where my level will kind of be. Maybe if I hit 3,000 would be pretty decent and more than I ever thought we'd ever get. But let's try and keep pushing and see where we can get. But I appreciate all the support and I appreciate everybody who views week in, week out on this one there. If you're in the live chat, I'm really bad for this. I've started doing it live, but I never look at the chat. I see you're there. I appreciate all the talk through the video and just the chit chat that you fans together have, whether you disagree with my picks or not. I always like to go back and have a look at that. So, but I try and concentrate on the picks first, because if I get sidetracked, I'll be here for ages. So yeah, we're going to get into this one, and we're going to start off in the lightweight division with a returning fighter we've not seen in 2.5 years in Magomed Mustafayev against a newcomer in Rafael Fiziev, who is joining here with an undefeated record, and a guy that I like a lot. You might know this guy from, it was kind of like the Matrix kind of head kick type thing that went kind of viral on YouTube and so on. Fights out of Tiger Muay Thai, 6-0 record, 5 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. A guy who's got a ton of Muay Thai fights in his back pocket, fought all around the world. Your China, your South Korea, obviously your Thailand. I think he was supposed to fight on Danish show last year, and that got pulled due to a visa issue. And then he went on to Titan to win a belt over there, I think. So what to expect from him? A really, like I say, Muay Thai fighter, super, super dangerous striker. Obviously coming from the Muay Thai background, uses a lot of knees and really good job at kind of using that, to be honest with you. He wants to keep the fight standing. There's absolutely no kind of doubt about that here. I haven't seen much of his ground game. I'm guessing his ground game, he'll have an semblance of a ground game, but his striking is his bread and butter, which you see. So doesn't shoot for takedowns, likes to keep it on the feet, super dangerous with low kicks, knees, especially with his low kicks. He's got very, very hard low kicks, but he has a lot of power and a lot of speed, and just overall just got some really big explosive strikes that you have to really watch out for with him here. So in my opinion, a really good guy to come into the UFC. Got a good matchup here actually in Magomed Mustafayev, who's not a guy that will look for takedowns. If you watch his previous fights, he's not one of those guys. Coming off a loss to Kevin Lee 2.5 years ago in Northern Ireland, I was at that event. Didn't think it was that long ago. So he had a lot of injuries. He was talking about he was going to retire from the sport, stepped away, and he's came back here. So I'm interested to see what he is here. And this one I actually really like. I think it's going to be close. I think Fiziev has actually got a really good chance in this one here. I think both good strikers, both very dangerous. I love the knees and the leg kicks that Fiziev throws. And yeah, it's just Mustafayev is a good fighter, fought better caliber opposition, obviously fought in the UFC before. But I'm going to pick Fiziev here. I'm going to pick him in a very, very close back and forward decision. I think I don't think there'll be much clinching going on here. There'll be good strikes thrown. So an exciting fight to start the night off there. So I'm going to go Rafael Fiziev to get the night started there. Moving on, Gazimurad Antigulov against Mikhail Oleksichuk. Oleksichuk looks like he's the real deal, doesn't he? He looks like he's a really, really good fighter. And saying that, the wins that he's got, Khalil, who looked fantastic at the weekend, by the way. He looked like a new guy against Eric Anders. and then he starched Gian Vellante with that body shot. Guy looks a really solid fighter. Obviously had the misdemeanor of the USADA, got that sorted out, came back, young fighter, looks very, very good, looks dangerous and looks very well-rounded, can take you down like you've seen in the Khalil fight, can strike very dangerous like you've seen in the Vellante fight. I like what I see. I was a little bit slow coming on to him. I like him going forward. Antigulov, he says he's 32. To me, he looks a lot older than that. He looks kind of ridden, battle ridden. He looks like he's really... the injuries are taking over. He's coming off. He's had quite a lot of fights for his age, 25, 26 fights, so he's been keeping busy. A couple of wins in the UFC over De Lima and Christensen, and getting starched by Cutelaba last time out, which can happen because Cutelaba is a bit of a beast. So where he, I think, will have his greatest chance to win this fight is actually with his ground game. Really good submissions, a lot of rear naked chokes. He's one of those good choke guys that you have to be very careful of. But if you go back and watch his ACB fights against Barrera, De Oliveira, he's got some TKO bouts there, TKO wins, there. So I like Oxylechuk. I think he's coming into his pomp. He looks really, really solid. And I do like him to win this fight here, as long as he stays composed. I think if he keeps on the feet, clinches up and just fights smart, I think he wins this fight majority of the fight. I think he actually wins via knockout there. Moving on, Marcin Tybura, Shamil Abdurrahimov. I'm going to pick Marcin Tybura. I've always been kind of a fan of Marcin. I don't know why. I've always been kind of interested in him, even back in his old days when he fought in M1. I think it was Damon Grabowski. It was the first fight I ever seen him in, maybe. He won that fight, and then he went on, faced a few guys, lost to Stephen Puett, came into the UFC, lost to Timothy Johnson straight off the bat, which I think I picked him in that one. I thought he would do well, didn't do well. Beat Victor Pesta, Luis Enrique. Those guys aren't even in the UFC anymore. A nice winning record over Arlovski, even though it's nothing really to look into in 2018, 2019, or 2017 when he fought him. Lost to Fabrizio Verdum. I thought he'd give a good account of himself in that one through a lot of kind of strikes, but just Fabrizio was just a better fighter throughout that entire fight. Derek Lewis, I thought he was on his way to winning that fight before getting stopped in the third round, which can happen. If you give Derek Lewis any chance to let those bombs go, he is gonna hurt you. And got back on track with a win over Stefan Struve, who we know that is retired from the sport now as well. Never been the biggest backer of Shamil Abdurrahimov. Just a horrible fighter to actually face, because it's hard to look good against him. Derek Lewis, he was well on his way to winning that fight, and then Derek Lewis managed to get his hands on him, got them out and started unloading on him. But he's won 4 of his last 6 fights. Anthony Hamilton, Walt Harris, Chase Sherman, Arlovski is on there as well, which he won back in Russia back in September. I love the fact that they're cultivating this talent in Russia and going there, and it looks like they're going back there later on in the year. I'll go... he's a spoiler fighter. He really is, but he's got some power there like you saw in the Chase Sherman fight, so just don't write him off at your peril. I am going to pick Tybura in a very kind of lackluster, low output kind of decision. I can see a lot of clinching. I can maybe see it being quite close, but I'll pick Marcin Tybura to win that one. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a split decision, but I'll pick him there. Alexander Yakovlev against Alex de Silva Coelho's up next. Yakovlev, I thought the UFC had actually cut this guy, and then I heard he was against Timo Packlin, and Packlin pulled out, and they brought this young Brazilian in. Yakovlev's coming off 2 losses to Zach Cummins and the champion Kamaru Usman. This is his first fight in well over two and a half years as well, actually. So he's been away. He's not young. He's in his mid to late 30s. All around solid fighter. Wins over George Sullivan, Gray Maynard. Nothing really to write home about there. Losses to Maya Musoki and obviously the 2 guys I mentioned before. Yeah, a solid all-around fighter. Over 15 minutes, he's hard to look good against. He's hard to really... he makes people look kind of bad. I watched the fights with obviously Paul Daly, where he took him down there and kind of dominated him through that. Abdullayev was exactly the same. It was a close fight. His takedowns won him that fight there. Like I say, nothing that really kind of stands out with Yakovlev. Pretty solid in every aspect, but not spectacular in anything. But wins his fair share of fights, and he's got a newcomer here in De Silva who decent record, I suppose. 20-1, 23 years old, fighting out of the Astra fight team. 13 knockouts, 7 submissions. So all of his wins are via stoppage. A lot. If you look at some of those fights back in the day, he's got like 1-punch knockouts. He's got some head kick knockouts. But yeah, he's got a lot of slick combination striking, big power in his hands. But he slows. He kind of slows down a little bit. What's the word I'm trying to look for? To reach the target, he kind of slows coming in. So against a good counter striker, he's going to get hit, especially in the UFC with the caliber opposition that he could be facing. He kind of slows down as he gets in close, and he's there to be hit, is what I'm trying to say. Cardio isn't that bad, and his speed doesn't really drop off either in the fight. So that's something that's in his wheelhouse. He likes to stay in the feet. I haven't seen much of his grappling, even though he's got submission wins there against kind of lower level opposition. He's better on the top, obviously. He's not great. A couple of times I've seen him on his back, but I don't think his wrestling is that good. Honestly, I don't think his top game's that good. So it'll be interesting there if it works in the UFC, because it hasn't really. When some of the fights I've seen him in top position, it hasn't worked against lesser opposition. But I think he's got problems with his takedown defense, and that's something I think Yakovlev could kind of work against him here. Use that experience and get takedowns. Like I say, he does well. He's iffy off his back. Nothing special though. His kickboxing, his striking is where it is, and he's very, very dangerous through that. Vicious leg kicks. And I think his takedown defense isn't that great. How he matches up, I just think he's going to get taken down. This is one of the ones I did the huddle last night. I never did any tape, and I was kind of leaning with De Silva, but I never watched any fights. Watched a couple of fights today, and his takedown defense, to me, I think you need to have. You're kind of like a Curtis Millender. You're not going to win fights in the UFC if you can't stop takedowns. So I think Yakovlev will be smart enough. He's been around long enough that he's going to get takedowns here. So I'll pick Alexander Yakovlev to win that one there. Moving on, Sultan Aliev against Keita Nakamura. This is a spoiler fight for me. I see it being very close. I don't see it being a good fight. I see it being very low output, just like the Nakamura fight where he predominantly won that fight against Salim Touari through his jab and his striking. I thought he was going to get takedowns in that one. It was a very close fight. It could have really went either way. I had it slightly for Keita Nakamura, but like I say, if it went to Salim, I couldn't have been too upset if it went to the other guy there. Sultan Aliev really hasn't impressed me in his UFC tenure. I think he looked good before he went to UFC, but again, it was against lower level opposition. Came in, lost to Kenny Robertson, got starched in that first round. Beat Boja in a very, very kind of bad fight, close split decision, and then he got knocked out by Wally Alves. He never got knocked out. It was a doctor stoppage actually because of his eye. But yeah, a national sambo runner-up, a sambo champion a couple of times as well. Nothing really stands out. And the kind of, I see this fight being very close now. Him being in Russia might actually help him here. If it's a close fight, he might get the nod. I like Keita Nakamura just a little bit. I think he's very crafty. He is better on the ground. He's got good submissions. And that's where I think he might be able to get there, because I think that Aliev will clinch up, will put him against the cage. And I think if he was to get the underhooks and turn it, and possibly get a few takedowns off that himself, but his fights are just not overly great to watch. I watched the Morona one, Zaleski Santos one, the Rocco Martin one. He either does really well or he kind of gets dominated, and that has happened a few times. Like I say, I see this being very close. It's going to be my least confident picks. I'm going to go Keita Nakamura though. But like I say, would it surprise me if Sultan got a Russian decision? Not one little bit, but I'll go with the craftiness, the veteranness of Keita Nakamura there in that one. Moving on, Movsar Evloev against Seung Choi. A couple of other newcomers to the UFC here, but I am super high on the Russian prospect here in Movsar Evloev. I really like what I see from this kid, and I think he's got a very high ceiling. I think it's the word to say. I think he's the type of fighter I will see one day in the top 15 of the divisions that he's fighting in. 100%, I see that. Legit talent, in my opinion. Unbelievable grappler, and he's dominated a lot of fighters through his grappling. Nice jab on the feet, couple of nice combination striking, some nice 1-2s. But there is some flags there when you see his striking. He leaves his chin in there. He kind of moves straight back with the chin in there, so he can't do that. He needs to kind of use footwork, and maybe that's something he's worked on. Who knows, since his last couple of fights, and he leaves himself kind of exposed. So he has to be careful in exchanges, especially moving into the big leagues with the better fighters he will be facing. He struggles to kind of put it all together. It's there. I think it will get there eventually, but right now he struggles with it. But he's got nice distance, and once he gets a hold of you, he's going to get takedowns. Go from single legs to double legs. He will try anything. His chain wrestling is very, very good, and he specializes in getting to the back. And if he gets to the back, it's night pretty much. It's done from there. Sticks to he's one of those guys that will work a position, and he's just stuck to you like glue. It's hard to get him off. It's hard to get back to your feet. But his ability to get the back is really, really good, and it's something that I noticed when I was watching there. Really good ground and pound. I should add that on top of it with his top game position. Legit talent, in my opinion. The newcomer in Seung Choi here, I think he's got some knockout power. I think he plants his feet and throws a lot of power, obviously, in those strikings. I think he sits back a little bit too much for my liking. I think his opponent can set the pace, which initially sees him at times looking like he's kind of losing parts of the round. And that's not really a good thing, especially against a kind of good Russian grappler who, if he starts to grapple and dictate from that, even on the feet, then that could be a bad thing for him. So while he has knockout power, he has been dropped and he has been finished as well. So that's something you have to keep an eye on. Really good front kick, likes to kind of fight at distance. But I just think if he was to lead the dance a wee bit more, I think he could probably win more fights through that. Not that it's a bad thing because he's only 7-1. So, but yeah, I like what I see. I think he's got solid takedown defense as well, and that kind of improves. I think that's an improvement he's made over his last few fights. You've definitely seen that. But yeah, how I see this here, I just think this Evloev guy is a really legit talent. Like I say, pretty much a striker versus grappler, kind of say the least. I think Evloev's probably a little bit better with the striking than what Seung Choi is with the grappling aspect here. Like I say, if these two start grappling here, Evloev's going to take him down, and I think he's just going to stick to him. I don't know. I like Evloev. I'm fairly high. I'm trying to say nice things about Seung Choi here and not kind of blow smoke up the arse of Evloev here. But I love his aggression. I think he's going to get takedowns. I don't see Choi stopping takedowns, and I'm probably going to end up betting Evloev. I'm actually going to put him in a parlay with Mikhail Aleksi. I think I get about plus 110 for that. Like those two. Like I said, I like Seung Choi. I think that he's all right, but I really like this Movsar Evloev kid, and I think one day, hopefully, I'll come back to this and say I was right about him being a ranked fighter. But I'm going to pick Movsar Evloev to win via submission in round number 2. Moving on to the main card, Krzystof Jotko against Alen Amedovski. Yeah, I was looking forward to Roman Kopylov actually making his UFC debut, but then he got injured and he fell out, and another newcomer came in here in Amedovski. We'll start with the newcomer here, who is 8-0, trains out of Italy, and yeah, he's getting his opportunity here. All 8 wins via knockout. What can I say about this guy? Big power. He throws big power and a lot of strikes. I think he's got... One of the things that I didn't like, what I seen was obviously he's got bad takedown defense, and that's something that's a big kind of red flag, obviously, but his power more than makes up for it. But he has been taken down by lesser wrestlers. You see some of the guys he's faced against, and they've taken him down. In the UFC against some guys, even like Jotko, that's a kind of big red flag in my opinion. He does all right off his back, to be fair. Works his way back to his feet and kind of gets there. But like I say, we haven't seen any submissions there, so he's got really probably a very low-level jiu-jitsu game. That kind of one word to describe him is big, big power. Massive, massive power. When he lands clean, guys go down. But again, against lesser opposition. So it's just taking it off what you kind of see. But when you see him, he plants his feet, throws bombs, and when he does land, people go down. His right hand is an absolute missile. And he does a kind of great job of throwing off both sides as well. Big power on both sides is what I should really say. So I don't know. I think the one thing what I saw, he got taken down, like I say, is his transitions were something that needs a little bit of work. Overall, his ground game just needs a bit of work. He is a stand-up fighter. But against the right type of guys in the UFC, I think this guy could have some big, big knockout wins. I really do. If you match him up with guys who are going to strike with him, this guy's going to have some big, big wins on his record. Some decent wins and decent knockout wins is what I should say. But like I say, not too much of a grappler, big, big striker with big, big power from what I've seen. Krzystof Jotko, I think he is at that point where he's kind of fading. Definitely, his chin's fading, like he's in that kind of position now where, I mean, you look at his last 3 fights, Dave Branch, Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares, kind of name guys, not super name guys, but then he's been given newcomers like Kopylov, who was coming in. I think they're maybe trying to build Kopylov off of Jotko and get him a win and so on. But he's not looked the same fighter in pretty much close to the last 2 years since he lost to Dave Branch. And he looks like he's just taking a step back a little bit. Overall, a very, very solid fighter. We've seen him with knockouts. We've seen he's went 15 minutes before many times. So he's a good fighter over that 15-minute period. Has got takedowns in his back pocket, which is something I think he really should use here against Amedovski. But we've seen him knocked out. And if you give Amedovski the opportunity to knock you out, you are in big, big trouble. But he has fought the far higher caliber opposition than what Amedovski has. So I'm interested to see what's going on here and how this fight's kind of going to go. I'm going to pick Amedovski via knockout. But I can see this probably also being a clear 30-27 for Krzystof Jotko. If he can get takedowns early and often, then Amedovski's in for a long, long night. But I just fancy taking the shot on the newcomer here just to try and actually do a... This is one of the ones that I knew I was going to be kind of thinking about, because initially I liked what I've seen from Amedovski just with the massive power he's got, but his takedown defense is pretty piss poor. You know what? I'll stick with Amedovski. That was the gut feeling I had. I'll just go with what my gut feeling was when I was watching him. So I'll pick Amedovski, knockout, maybe early round. In fact, I'll go late round 2, maybe early round 3. So I'll go Amedovski, the newcomer, for the win there in his UFC debut. Roxanne Modaferri against Antonina Shevchenko. This, to me, kind of screams trying to build Shevchenko by giving her some of these, not that they're super high caliber names, but Roxanne Modaferri's closer in 40 fights around the world. If you're going to go back and watch Antonina's last fight, put it on mute, because Valentina Shevchenko was just so annoying with hey, and all that jazz last time. It was horrible. She knocked out that Jamie Navarra in the Dana White Contender Series. But really, she's a high kind of output kickboxer, fairly decent at it. But I'm interested to see if she can stop takedowns, because someone like Roxanne Modaferri will get, if she can get in and get a hold of you, she will get takedowns. And she's training a really good gym in Syndicate. They've got a really good kind of women's team starting up there with Jojo and Sarah Kaufman, and Sonia Davis daughters went there as well. coming off that loss to Sijara Eubanks, that she was just kind of out-muscled in that fight and kind of beat up, to be honest with you. Before that, she stopped, what's her name? Barb Honchak. So she got a UFC win that she'd kind of been looking for. Will that be the only one she gets? I don't know. If she can get takedowns in this fight and get them religiously, and get them a few times during the round, then she's got an opportunity. I think she's plus 300. That might not be a bad stab. But I just think, for me, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, right, the UFC are trying to build Shevchenko by some of the kind of aging veterans they've got here. And that's kind of how I see this fight here. I think she will have the more kind of higher output, and will just kind of beat her up through her strikes. But if Roxanne was to get takedowns, I'd be super interested to see there, because I wonder what her ground game is like as well. So I'll go Antonina Shevchenko, probably 30-27 decision, just more output, more strikes landing. So yeah. Moving on, Ivan Shtyrkov, I hope I'm saying that right, against Devin Clark. If you know who I cannot say that name, Shtyrkov. If you watch some of the fights outside the UFC, especially the Russian promotions, you will know who this guy is. The Ural Hulk, as he calls himself, 5'7", tiny for a light heavyweight, so wide, built like a brick shithouse. It would not surprise me one day if you saw her come knocking this guy's door and he popped for everything in the planet, pretty much, because he's huge. 16-0-1 record, Tiger Muay Thai guy. He's got a lot of notable kind of wins on his record of former UFC vets with Bigfoot Silva, Phil DeVries, who's the KSW heavyweight champion, Fabio Maldonado, Thiago Silva. And just when you watch this guy, power, and gets tired from it very, very quickly. But the guy has got some serious power, and like if he gets a hold of a limb, this fucker tries to rip it off. Like, especially the armbar. That one of the armbars I seen there, he was trying to pull that guy's arm off. Crazy. He's got power in his hands that will drop anybody if he lands, because it is humongous power. But he gets hit a lot as well. Guy's got a fairly decent chin, but he is open to getting hit as long as he can get his shots off. And usually when he gets his shots off, he has got massive power. Like I say, good chin. He has good wrestling as well. Like, and a fairly decent ground game. We just don't see it all that much. He's got a variety of takedowns, from the body lock to trips, to like double legs. I've seen a vast amount of takedowns with this guy from the Sambo kind of background. And on top, if this guy gets on top of you, like I say, massive ground and pound, and he will rip any limb off if he can get a hold of it. So with Devin Clark, I think Devin Clark's a really good fighter. I think he puts it together. I think he's got it there, but he doesn't always put it together well, is what I'm trying to say. Like I say, a good athlete, dangerous on the feet. I think he's very aggressive with his power. I think he's got some speed. I think he's got wrestling shown in the UFC that he can take down guys, so that's a big thing. But I think his biggest thing, which is a red flag to me in this fight, is his chin. The guy gets too... If he's going to be aggressive against this guy, and he takes any semblance of a big shot, he's going to go down, because Ivan hits very, very hard. But the one thing I would be interested in here is if this fight goes past the first round, because then his cardio and I think his wrestling could definitely come into play here. Even in the stand-up, I think he can get shots off on Ivan as well, because like I say, he gets hit a lot. But where I'm going to go with Ivan Shtyrkov to win the fight here via knockout in the first. I think that Devin Clark will be... I think if you're smart, just fight, maybe clinch up in that first round, try and tire him, and then maybe look for takedowns and get him, stop him there. I think Devin Clark is a live fighter here, actually. But I think he's going to be too aggressive. He's going to kind of play into the hands of Ivan Shtyrkov here, and he's going to get knocked out with a big shot. But like I say, Ivan Shtyrkov, people are saying this guy's the guy that's going to beat John Jones. I've seen people say that on Twitter, Reddit, you name it. People have been saying this guy's the guy that's going to dethrone him. And I'm like, no, I don't think he's that kind of guy. He's going to win fights in the UFC. He's going to have some crazy knockouts. But I think he's very beatable, if I'm being honest with you as well. So I'll go Ivan to win via knockout in the first. So I just think the aggressiveness of Devin Clark might kind of play into the hands of Ivan here, and he'll win that fight. Sergei Pavlovich against Marcelo Golm. I'm off the Marcelo Golm train. I think he was obviously brought in against Christian Colombo, knocked out an absolute can there, and then he's lost a couple of fights since. And he does not look UFC ready, in my opinion. I thought I gave him the benefit of the doubt last time against Argentine Bull. I thought he had the opportunity to maybe knock him out, and he looked god awful. So I'm not giving him a chance. Sergei Pavlovich, in his last fight there, he came in big name, Alistair Overeem, but he got helped. He got kind of felt the vet lesson with a guy who's got many more fights. I think he's a more well-rounded fighter, and just put it to him and absolutely kind of beat his ass up and knocked him out in the first round. He's going to win this fight. Honestly, I would be super surprised if Marcelo Golm won this fight. I know he's an American top team. I think he's a big training partner of Junior Dos Santos, so he's maybe just the kind of sparring partner who gets beat up by JDS. I like Pavlovich in this one. I think he finishes it early. I actually think he'll finish it in the first round via knockout, if not in the second round. So I will go Sergei Pavlovich to win via knockout round number one. I'll go for it there. Co-main event of the night: Islam Makhachev against Arman Tsarukyan. I really like this Tsarukyan boy that I've literally just been watching the last day or two. I really like him. He's a super big underdog in this fight. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to bet him, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I know I'll probably cop some shit for this because I know he's a plus 400 dog. And he's got a very, very, very talented opponent in Islam Makhachev, who I think is a really legit fighter. But I really like what I see from this guy. I really do. I think there's another one of these guys like Evloev who will be a ranked fighter one day. I do. I think with his age, 22 years old, just as many knockout TKOs as he's got submissions. But this is a tough fight, obviously, coming to the UFC. But I think he can maybe... I'm just kind of wondering here whether Islam might take him a little bit lightly, being a guy that nobody really knows about, and gives him a fight here. I really do. He's got some wins over some UFC vets, Junior Assunção, Felipe Oliveira, but I think he's a great addition to the lightweight division. Like I say, for his age, 22 coming into that division, super high ceiling in my opinion. Excellent wrestling, unbelievable timing on the shots that he had. He's just got great timing and a lot of aspects of his game. If he doesn't get it, he will work. He's a good chain wrestler. He will go from different positions to get his takedown, and his chain wrestling is just really good. Just he's a good grappler all over. Transitions very well. Really good ground and pound. Will find kind of ways to get in short shots with ground and pound, which is very impressive. He looks for just like little nuances and little spots in people's games that he can expose, and he's got some power with it. Unbelievably good at taking the back, and that's something that he will look for even on the cage and so on. If he's pulling his opponents to the mat, he will instantly try and look to get to the back. On the feet, it's something, when you watch his last few fights, you can definitely see that he has improved in that aspect. I really like what I've seen on in that aspect of that. Some good kicks, a lot of spinning kicks that he throws as well. He's got he doesn't only kind of throw kind of naked shots where he'll just throw like leg kicks. He'll follow it up with punches, and he will mix it up. He'll go body, head, and just not focus on one area. He will mix it up and go different parts of the body. And like I say, he's got a little bit of flash in there, but his wrestling grappling is fantastic. But he is facing Islam Makhachev, and that's a big fight to come into the UFC, who Islam's probably right on the verge of being a top 15 guy. So you have to kind of pay your dues here. So I'm kind of taking a flyer here on Tsarukyan. I just like what I see. I'm maybe getting blown away just from what I have seen, and maybe just like the kind of fan in me is probably talking a little bit much here. But when you look at Makhachev, never been taken down, so that's interesting here. If Tsarukyan can maybe take him down, that would maybe be a big feather in his cap. but he, like I say, he's never been taken down. He trains with the best lightweight in the world in Khabib Nurmagomedov. So you might see Arman actually striking a little bit more here because the grappling might just kind of fizzle themselves out because they're both good grapplers. The kind of one thing I do see Islam being here, and especially in the grappling aspect, I think he's the stronger fighter. He might kind of big brother him a little bit. So that's kind of something that worries me, but I would like to see them grapple because I want to see if Islam can. I'm just a little bit interested to see if he's maybe taking them lightly or not. And I've seen a lot of people saying, who is this guy that's coming in? They've maybe not watched the fights of him. This guy's really good. This guy's going to be a really good fighter. Mark my words. He is going to be a good fighter. I don't often come out and blow smoke up people's arses, but this guy is really good. I'd be surprised. We'll come back to this maybe in a couple of years. We'll see if he's a ranked UFC guy. I think he has every opportunity to be a ranked UFC guy within the next 2-3 years. Love his grappling. Love his striking. But I just think that Islam might match up a little bit too well with him. But I'm going to take a shot. I'm actually going to bet him this week. I think plus 400. I know he's coming in against a vet who's won a lot of fights in the UFC. But plus 400, I will take a stab at that. 100% I'll take a stab at him, just from what I see. So I might be kind of fanboying this pick a little bit. It's a Hail Mary one. I'm going with a big upset win here for Arman in his UFC debut. But yeah, I think it's the fan in me talking. I think you can maybe see in this here. But Islam is a really solid fighter. There's no doubt about it. He's looked great in his recent fights. But I like this Arman kid to maybe give him a closer fight than a lot of people are saying and letting on. So I will pick him to win via decision. I'll go in that one there. And the main event of the night, Alistair Overeem against Aleksi Oleynik. Fucking Aleksi Oleynik, man. I mean, I can, like, seriously, I can never, I pick against him every fight, and he just proves me wrong every time. So, yeah, it's just, fucking Aleksi Oleynik. I watch him and I'm thinking, how does he pull off those submissions? Like, people fall into his game. And saying this as well, Mark Hunt, he knocked down Mark Hunt his last fight. Now, take with that what you will, because Mark Hunt was obviously, and I think it was his second last fight. He's obviously had the bad things going with the UFC and so on. So, yeah. But like I say, I will always probably pick against Aleksi Oleynik, and I'll probably lose more times than I'll actually win against him. But when you look at this matchup here, I think that Overeem's overall game is just, like, and saying that though, I always think that with fighters against Oleynik. Oleynik's just, he pulls shit out of his arse. I don't know what my ratio is picking against him. I know I picked against him last time and I bet Mark Hunt, and that was terrible bet. Absolute terrible bet. Me watching Mark Hunt, I don't know. There was a big money change, a big money line change in that fight as well, if I remember right. And I think I grew too much confidence and I bet a lot of money and was made to look like an absolute jackass in that one there. So, yeah, but on the feet, there's only one winner here, and that's Alistair Overeem. But awkward as Oleynik is, he's kind of got quite long arms. He might catch Overeem with something. He's still chinny. Overeem's got a really good, solid jiu-jitsu game, not that we see that much of it. He's coming off that win over Pavlovich. He was supposed to face Volkov here. I was interested in that matchup to see how it was going to go. Like I say, Overeem should win this fight. I think he should knock him out very, very early on. Just don't clinch up with this guy, because Aleksi just pulls stuff out everywhere, and if he gets his arms around you, you're in deep, deep trouble. But he's doing that to guys who've got really bad ground games, like your Pesta one, Junior Albini. Like, they fell into the trap of that guy. I don't think Overeem would be the type of guy to kind of be like that. I think he fights on the outside, picks his shots well. I think Oleynik is wide open for strikes, and I like him to win this via knockout here. So I'll go Alistair Overeem very, very early on in that fight there. I'll go a first round knockout in that one there, but just don't get caught up in the Oleynik trap, because it's crazy. I sit and watch these fights and I'm like, how do these guys get caught with that? And then I do realize some of them are your kind of younger fighters coming up through the game. But like Mark Hunt, I know he's not got the best ground game, but he got caught in that and so on. But yeah, I'll go Overeem first round knockout there. So that's my picks there. I'm just having a little look here. I see Piglord MMA in there, which is a guy on YouTube, Twitter, who does a lot of good things in the community. So hope things are all good with everybody there. I can see MMA KO. What's happening, man? David, Rob, the usual guys, Buffo. Really good to see you guys. I'll probably get a show. I'll try and get a show out this Thursday, so keep an eye out there. So yeah, that's my picks for UFC St. Petersburg. I'll be back next week for Jacare against Jack Hermanson. Really good fight. Mike Perry against Cowboy Oliveira's on there. I just seen that Verna Jandarobi against Carla Sparza's on there. John Lineker against Corey Sanhagen. Good fights. Until then, guys, enjoy this fight card when it comes around. I won't be watching it live because I'll be working, unfortunately. But until then, all the best, and I will see you next week for UFC in Florida.